Hey guys, Angel Audio here. We're gonna talk about Jeff the Killer. I know you're not supposed to be excited about a killer, but this was like my favorite one whenever I was in like middle school and like before, because I don't remember whenever I started liking creepypasta. I've always liked creepy stuff. But he was like my favorite. I think he was like the favorite of most teenage girls, or like almost everybody, because there was a lot of fan art and a lot of fan fiction made about this man. Like people really went into it, but they did the whole thing that I'm gonna have to repeat like several times throughout the series of me doing creepypastas of, oh my gosh, I'm totally the one that's gonna change him. Like, he for sure would not murder me. And I'm sure I also thought that same thing. But looking back, he for sure would murder me. He'd for sure murder anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. The only person he wouldn't murder is maybe Slender Man, because I'm pretty sure Slender Man's more powerful than him. I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be like the god of them. I don't know. Unless you're talking about like SCPs in general, then I'm pretty sure there is literal god on there. But for just the creepypastas, it's like Slenderman's the biggest, and everybody was like, well, Jeff's not gonna murder me. We're gonna be like best friends. And I'm like, you're not gonna be best friends with a murderer. The murderer is gonna kill you. I remember though, whenever I was younger, there was this YouTuber who like dressed up as Jeff and like said he was Jeff and stuff. And he didn't do, like, the people who are mostly like, yeah, I'm super cool, babe. I just have a knife and I think blood's cool. Like, he actually, like, would respond to, like, the Jeff questions, like, I would murder you, you know? Like, a Jeff's supposed to be. I'm not saying, like, be a murderer, you know, obviously. In all of these, I'm gonna say do not be a murderer. It's bad that they're murderers. But if you're gonna be a murderer, be a murderer, you know? Don't be like, wow, girls, of course, you'd be the one girl that I for sure would not kill. Like, no, he'd murder anybody. If he murdered his family, he stabbed his brother in, like, several of these, I think. And he loved his brother. So, I'm just saying, you're probably not gonna make it. Anyways, I'm gonna read off the Jeff the Killer wiki, and then I'm gonna remember things as we go, because it's been a while. I am now 22, and I'm pretty sure I read these first or got into it first whenever I was, like, a little bit before middle school, so we'll see how this goes. This first thing they say is literally his catchphrase, which I forgot was his catchphrase. It's go to sleep, and I don't even remember why it was that to begin with, so... Okay, go to sleep. Jeff the Killer's famous catchphrase. Jeff the Killer, born Jeffrey Woods, is the titular main protagonist, turned into the main antagonist of the 2011 and 2015 revamped creepypasta story of the same title, Jeff the Killer, and Jeff the Killer 2015. He is an adolescent serial killer, a registered creepypasta. He was disfigured after being set on fire while fighting a gang of bullies and lost his sanity while witnessing his new and beautiful face. I think it was more than that, though. Like they very much, like, wasn't there bleach or something involved, or he fell into a pool, something about chlorine? I don't know. Anyway, okay. Jeff was a 13-year-old who, I know how to read, who moved to a new neighborhood with his brother Leo and their parents. On their first day of school, they were accosted by 3 bullies named Randy, Keith, and Troy, whom Jeff brutally beat up after they threatened them with knives. Leo took the blame for it and was arrested, sending Jeff into a deep depression. The bullies later attacked Jeff again at a party, and Jeff killed one of them, but not before getting covered in bleach and lit on fire by Keith. See, there's a bleach. During this fight, Jeff's mind permanently snapped. When Jeff woke up, he was in the hospital, and his head was wrapped in bandages. When the bandages were taken off, he was revealed that his face had become disfigured and ghastly pale from the burns, with bright red lips and a leathery texture. Jeff said that he liked his face this way and laughed hysterically, but the doctor foolishly thought that this insanity was merely a side effect of the painkillers and let Jeff go home. Oh my god. Why are doctors and policemen always failing insanity tests? They're always like, oh yeah, I'm sure it's fine. It's not. Later that night, Jeff's mother found him carving his face into a permanent smile so that he would no longer have to exert energy to smile, as he put it, and burning off his eyelids so he could always see his face. Jeff's mother went to her husband to tell him that their son had gone completely mad and needed to be killed, but Jeff caught them and stabbed them to death. This woke up Liu, who was recently released, with Jeff telling him that he was about to plunge the knife into his body. Go to sleep. Jeff then went on a serial killing rampage, killing those who refused to sleep at night. And as the story continued, Jeff renamed himself Jeff the Killer. Okay, see, so I remember the bleach part, and I remember the cut mouth part. I forgot that he burned off his eyelids. But once again, like I'm saying, he loved Liu. He fought for Liu, and he still stabbed that motherfucker. I don't understand why he started freaking out about people being awake, though, but I don't know. Also, sometimes it's weird to, like, think that he was, like, so happy about his appearance, and he's like, I just want to be smiling all the time without effort. But, like, almost every time he's portrayed, in literally anything, he's an angry little douchebag. He's like, fuck you. I hate everything, and I'll stab you if you look at me wrong. Oops, I'm so sorry. But I'll stab you if you look at me wrong. And, like, I don't know. I think it's funny. Obviously, I don't want him to be, like, all, like, oh my god, I'm so happy and chill. But I'm also, like, he's always so angry and everything. Also, anytime there's a Chelsea smile now, my sister still to this day is like, Angie, Jeff the Killer. And I'm like, yeah, honey. It's for sure only Jeff the Killer. Due to Jeff's popularity, many fans made different expansions of the creepypasta. The most well-known expansion being a character named Jane the Killer, featured in a story titled Jane's Letter, created by DeviantArt user Fear of the Black Wolf, a short story about a woman who views Jeff as her nemesis and kills those before he can, telling them, don't go to sleep, you'll never wake up. Although the creepypasta story was short, she became well-liked among the creepypasta fanbase, and many created fan arts of her, and a full audiobook-style written creepypasta was created with the two rivals encountering. Eventually, a detailed backstory was written explaining the details of Jane's background and motivation for wanting Jeff killed. In this story, Jeff, when older, murdered the parents of Jane Richardson, causing Jane to become an immediate enemy of Jeff. Jane had sworn to hunt Jeff and murder him for doing the same to her parents. In another fan adaptation, Jane the Killer, the real story, Jeff murdered Jane Arkansas's entire family, friends, and as well as his own family. He lit her on fire by using bleach and gasoline, leaving her scarred and disfigured, thus the beginning of their rivalry. However, this particular version of Jane the Killer plagiarizes the character, such as changing her surname from Richardson to Arkansas, and the fan base took it as canon, which displeased the creator of the character. Despite numerous stories, videos, and artwork, neither Jane Richardson or Jane Arkansas has a canonical connection to the Jeff the Killer, and are merely derivative works of the creepypasta. See, I never really liked Jane, because to me, she's just like an obvious female Jeff, you know? I get that, like, people like her for that reason, and also, you know, someone to, like, fight Jeff, and they're like, oh my god, a romantic, like, someone who could be with Jeff, and who can take a stabbing from him, because all of these things are for some reason like really hard to kill. But I'm also like, dang, that's, I don't know. I've never really liked whenever you just copy and paste stuff over and over again, like they kind of did with Jane. Like, Jane's just Jeff as a female. That they're like, she's angry at him, and I'm like, is she angry because she is him? Is that, you know, like sometimes you hate qualities in somebody else because those are like the bad qualities in you. I think that's what that is, and I've never been into it, but I did remember her, and I was like, oh, that's cool. That's kind of how like some of the creepypastas that some people like. I'm like, oh, that's just the same thing as this thing, and there's really no point in that. I guess different things kill different people. Maybe people are more scared of girls than boys, and that's why Jane exists. I don't know. She's okay, though. I guess if some people like them. Okay, Slenderman. There are many different ways in which fan content portrays Jeff the Killer and Slenderman in relation to each other. Most fan works depict Slenderman as mortal enemies on par with Jeff, showing off one another's skills. Depictions of Jeff typically show him going into combat with Slenderman using his knives, while Slenderman is typically shown using his tentacles. There are even some various fan works that depict Jeff the Killer as one of Slenderman's proxies, often painting Jeff's image as some kind of super proxy that was discovered by Slenderman shortly after murdering his family and escaping to the forest. However, many fans do not exactly approve of this particular fan work because they tend to argue and state that Jeff would be too insane to be controlled by Slenderman. While all of these concepts are non-canon to both Jeff the Killer and the Slenderman mythos, it is nevertheless an immensely popular combination of the two in numerous fan artworks. See, for some reason, I always they almost always were like, oh, the Slenderman mansion, and Jeff lives there. He obviously still tries to kill everybody. Like, everybody there tried to kill everybody. But almost everything that I read, it was like, oh, they live in the Slender Mansion. It's just easier for all these murderers to live in one mansion that magically appeared and disappeared. Like, you couldn't find it unless you were supposed to find it or something. But I don't know. Also, there was several others where they obviously would meet in the woods and fight. But most of the ones I saw, they were they lived together. Slenderman's very angry at him all the time, and he's very angry at Slenderman, but they live together. In my little brain, it worked out, okay? Don't ask me why. Oh, Homicidal Liu. See? I sort of was fine with Homicidal Liu, because, that's just his brother, and it's understandable that, his brother would go nuts if he went nuts. And since so many people can come back to life in these creepypastas, I'm not surprised that, his brother suddenly came back to life, you know? Anyway, another popular expansion is Homicidal Liu, created by DeviantArt user VampireNote13. A story about Jeff's brother Liu surviving his encounter with Jeff in the creepypasta and developing a split personality, becoming a serial killer himself and contemplating whether to get revenge on Jeff or spare him. The expansion also claims that Liu is the older brother, even though it was never stated in the actual creepypasta itself which sibling was the oldest. This expansion was also the origination of the last name Woods, as Liu was named Liu Woods in the expansion. Even though the creator made this story as a what-if scenario for a role-playing group, and even acknowledged that Liu dying may have been canonical, a majority of the fanbase took her expansion as canon. Yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know. I don't know. I was never, really, I feel like most of the creepypasta stuff, there's not much that's, actually canon, other than obviously whatever the person who originally wrote it as, I feel like their word should be taken. But with almost all of these creepypasta things, I feel like it's kind of just, whatever you add to it is whatever it is. So, okay. Scissor's version. I'm not going to say that name right this entire time. Okay. On October 3rd, 2008, a YouTuber named Scissor uploaded a video called Jeff the Killer, Original Story. This video came out before the famous creepypasta was even written. In the original video, the song I Guess You're Right by the Posies can be heard playing in the background. Scissor claims he is the one who created Jeff the Killer and that every internet story about Jeff the Killer is fake, including the famous creepypasta story. He claims Jeff never had an accident with the bullies or bleach. Instead, he claims that Jeff was hauling a gallon of acid into his bathroom to clean out his bathtub, but slipped on a bar of soap, and the acid splashed all over his face, and he was taken to the hospital with the neighbors, when the neighbors heard his cries. And apparently, in Scissor's original version of Jeff the Killer, Jeff never murdered Liu or his parents. And his full canon name is Jeffrey C. Hedduck, not Jeffrey Allen Woods. Note, Killer Jeff's YouTube channel has been terminated due to his violations of YouTube's community guidelines, which took the video down with it. When questioned, his response was that his account was taken down due to disbelief of him being the original creator of the Jeff the Killer character. Unfortunately, the video was re-uploaded. Fortunately, the video was re-uploaded by a YouTube user called Phenomenon Poltergeist. However, the original audio was not kept, which was the song I Guess You're Right by the Posies playing in the background for a majority of the video. Later on, YouTube user Bob's brother would come in to re-upload the video with his original audio. I don't remember that. But also, like I said, I just kind of was like, ooh, murders, you know? And I looked up, like, some of it. I kind of deep down into some of the stuff. My thing was, for some reason in my little brain was like, I want to find proof to see if these guys are real. Or, like, see if any creepypasta, any SCP is real. But I obviously haven't done that. Because they are for sure not real. And I know that now. But I was little. And I wanted to believe. I don't know why I wanted to die so much. Because for sure if I met one of these things, I would have died. But, you know. Anyway, Jeff the Killer 2015 remake. I didn't even know they did a 2015 remake. I feel like I was still sort of into creepypasta then. Maybe? I don't know. Because of the 2011 creepypasta story was criticized by many for its poor quality, it was even protested that it should not have been allowed in the creepypasta wiki for not meeting the actual required standards. Because of this, it was taken down from the creepypasta wiki a year later. However, users constantly re-uploaded it, objecting to the idea of it being taken down due to it being one of the most popular creepypastas at the time. In late 2014, the community finally decided that the story was banned from the creepypasta wiki entirely and officially be moved to the spinpasta wiki. What the fridge? He wasn't even... What? However, the story was taken down there as well. The story can be found on the official creepypasta website Trollpasta Wiki, now a closed wiki, and Just the Kittens wiki, originally Jeff the Killer wiki. A wiki dedicated to all Jeff the Killer fandom stories, but later renamed for unknown reasons. As a result of the creepypasta being taken down from the creepypasta wiki, a competition was made to remake the story entirely and create something more realistic and frightening that could be featured on the wiki. Edmund K. banning Calem's story won first place. However, it had to be cut down to half its size due to the contest's word limit. The uncut version can be viewed on the Spinpasta wiki. The remake stays true to the original creepypasta with the same characters, with Jeff and his family moving into a new neighborhood, as well as the fight between Jeff and the trio of bullies. However, the result of Jeff's deformed face is different from the ones of the original creepypasta. Unlike the original creepypasta, Jeff and Leo's ages are stated, with Jeff being 15 years old and Leo being 14. However, this is the only revealed in the uncut version of the remake. Banning Calem became proud of his remake, and soon after, wiki user Kevin Tierney made a Jane the Killer adaptation to the remake. He decided to continue the creepypasta by making a sequel. They didn't consider him... I don't know. I felt like everybody considered him a real creepypasta. I didn't know it was this big of a debate. I guess I don't really look for the drama in things. I'm just... like, people will be like, this drama's going on. And I'm like, wow, I don't care. I just want my creepy stabby guy. You know, I don't know. But I guess also back then I was just like, the internet felt really new to me, and so I was just like, any creepypasta thing I can find, anything creepy I can find, give it to me. And I didn't look for, you know, I don't think I really paid attention to Wikipedia back then either, because everybody's like, Wiki's not good, and I'm like, okay, I guess it's not good. Anyway, the controversial image. I feel like every creepypasta is slightly controversial. Not many people know the true origin of the original Jeff the Killer image. Many people believe it was a photoshopped picture of a woman named Katie Robinson who allegedly committed suicide due to the excessive cyberbullying after visiting 4chan's B-board around the year 2008. It was believed for several years that the picture of the girl was apparently the now famous Jeff the Killer image. However, the claim is entirely false and has been debunked numerous times, as there is no records of it actually happening. Around 2015, during an interview with YouTube user Scare Theater, the original creator of Jeff the Killer, Saucier, claims that the Katie Robinson suicide is a bogus story and confirms that the image is actually a picture of himself wearing a white latex mask. However, what was even more strange is that this is also false, even though he did write the original story. The Jeff image has been seen in places which date to 2005. It has been seen in a Japanese video published on YouTube on 2nd of August 2007, entitled, and some Japanese things I cannot say, which is apparently for a horror film project entitled Victims of Tomorrow, or something to that effect, wherein a series of names and ages are listed. After Jeff's face appears for a split second, there's text that says good night, which might be a precursor to go to sleep. The earliest confirmed sighting of the image was on November 16th, 2005, on a Japanese message board named Paya CC, along with other images that Susur also posted, where he claimed that the alternate versions of his original design concept. Susur's earliest known internet presence was the 14th of August 2008, where he made a Newgrounds account called Killer Jeff, where he acted as if he were Jeff. The original Jeff the Killer video was uploaded on November 3rd, 2008. The origins of the image and the subject it portrays are still unknown, as well as how it connects to Japan's internet culture. The most likely story is one that is unverifiable. In this version of the story, posted by a few B users, the photograph is a woman whose identity is currently unknown, although it is speculated that her name is Victoria. She streamed on the now-defunct website Stickam in 2005, and used B as a means of promoting herself after the Something Awful forum started to become obsolete. One user took a screenshot of her face and posted it, acting as if they were her, with the captions, "Am I pretty?" In a successive stories of images photoshopped by different users. One said in response, "Now you are." After finding out about the series of events, the woman stopped streaming and vanished. 3 images of Jeff are nowadays generally accepted as being from the thread, if it did occur. The famous one, the alternate version as Susur claimed it was, and the much more realistic, although lower resolution version, building off the most famous version. See, I remember there's that one photo that everybody's like, this is the real Jeff the Killer, this is for sure him, and then everyone's like, actually, it's this girl, we just edited her face, and maybe that's this Victoria person they're talking about, I don't know. That's the picture I always think of whenever I think of Jeff now. Though I have seen a bunch of really cool art where his face is, like, more torn open and stuff, and I think that looks cool, but I also just like more gory looking things, so... Appearance. Jeff has extremely pale skin and burnt off eyelids, giving him an even more ghostly appearance. Jeff later got his most distinctive trait, the glass smile, that he had carved into his face. His build is commonly described as thin, but with some lean muscle tone at the same time, and reaching a height of around 5'10" to 6 foot. In various fan depictions, he's typically portrayed in his late teens or early 20s. His clothing normally consisted of a pair of black dress pants with a white hoodie, like described in the story, which is sometimes stained with fresh and old blood from his victims. Yeah, I never thought of it as dress pants. Because I think dress pants look so awkward if you're not wearing, like, actual dress things. So I was always like, black jeans and Converse, which I think that was just because I was a little emo kid back then. And I was like, everybody wears black jeans and Converse. Personality. Before being burned alive, he was quite a fairly antisocial teenager. Not that people actually knew him very well. But shortly after the incident, he became torturous, aggressive, bloodthirsty, and violent, making him one of the most dangerous serial killers in his hometown. And is one of the most dangerous serial killers. How many serial killers are in his hometown? That he is one of them, not the most. That he's not the big serial killer. I don't know. Jeff is widely known for luring his victims to an eternal slumber using a kitchen knife and an eerie but soft tone in his voice. Even though he prefers to murder his victims with knives, he is more than willing to use any weapon when placed in a desperate situation. He's an extremely stealthy and mischievous individual, able to break into victims' houses almost always without getting himself caught in the act. I feel like that's like every creepypasta. I guess maybe not Toby. They always said Toby was like really, really, Bond, don't chew on that skull, really like noisy and clumsy, and also his clicking and ticking and stuff makes it a little hard to be stealthy. But, I don't know. Also, I think Jeff was the reason, whenever I was younger, my uncle gave us, like, pocket knives and stuff, and I was like, I obviously can't kill somebody, but if I had to kill somebody, it'd for sure be with a knife, and not with a gun, because I want to feel them dying. And I'm like, now looking back at that, what the heck? I obviously, like, I can't even, like, so I feel bad even punching people sometimes. And back then, I felt the same way, but I was like, for sure, if they needed it, you know, I'd be there with my little pocket knife, and that it would not have gone well. I for sure would have died. I don't know. Anyway, powers and abilities. Despite being an average human, Jeff appears to wield incredible supernatural abilities that only apply to his apply to his human attributes, such as incredible stealth, speed, and supernatural strength, used to mercilessly slaughter his victims. Jeff is known to be incredibly durable, being able to overcome his parents and brothers simply by gutting them. One thing that makes him stronger is his intense hatred and bloodlust to keep him going, as well as having great stamina. In recent years, Jeff has been depicted as being a charming individual, manipulating people into trusting him, only to betray them later. That's all the fangirls being like, oh my god, yay, we're gonna get married. And then he's like, stab, stab, stab. Anyway, facts, because there are facts about fictional characters. The original creator of Jeff the Killer is Saussure. The Jeff the Killer creepypasta story was written by GameFuel TV. It still is unknown when the story was first originally published, the earliest possible known date being November 21st, 2011. Despite being one of the most famous creepypastas, Jeff's original story was removed from the creepypasta wiki for failing quality standards. However, the remake of the creepypasta remains on the wiki. A reboot of Jeff the Killer, written by K. Benny Kalem, is available on the Chilling Tales for Dark Nights YouTube channel. Jeff has been criticized as one of the worst creepypastas of all time, despite his huge following and being a major birth icon of the creepypastas and internet horror. Jeff is also very notorious for having multiple fan adaptations, fan fictions, and most famously, copycats, being a vulnerable target for other killers to make it into the spotlight. Jeff is also very popular due to the many fangirls he has, being a main inspiration for other copycat stories. Seriously, though. He is 13 years old in the original story, however, it is unknown of how old he is now. It is unknown if Jeff is older or younger than his brother Leo. Jeff is a featured character in the creepypasta comic I Eat Pasta for Breakfast. Jeff is very often referenced to the Joker ripoff, mostly resembling Heath Ledger's Joker from the 2008 superhero film The Dark Knight. Some fans have made video games based on Jeff the Killer. Most of them, if not all of them, are very poorly made. Check out John Wolfe's video if anybody wants to see a good example of them. Jeff the Killer has zero connection to anything outside of his own singular story, and any other creepypasta that features Jeff the Killer is merely works of fan fiction, i.e. Jane the Killer, Nina the Killer, oh my god, I forgot about Nina, Slenderman, Homicidal Leo, etc. Because Jeff the Killer is a copyrighted character belonging to Saussure, who used Jeff in only one singular story, any products that are released without the permission of Saussure are non-canon. And then the gallery is just like videos of Slenderman and being weird. Yeah, see, the little burned weirdo. Anyway, yeah. I don't know. I think he's cool. Obviously now that I'm older, I'm like, eh. His story still has, I don't know, the story still has, like, good attributes to me, and I still think it could be fleshed out a lot. For being made in, like, the early, like, 2000s, 2010s, I think it was pretty good. It was, like, back at the height of, like, emo stuff, you know? And I think it was, like, also at the height of, like, everybody was starting to like creepypasta. I didn't know that so many people were, like, so controversial about the standards of Jeff the Killer. I guess when I was younger, I also didn't really care about quality much. I was just like, hell yeah, look at this little killer dude. Actually, I can't say that. There was a few times where I was, like, trying to play, or I would, like, look at different stories and be like, I can't read this. You need to fix whatever's going on here. And I think, so you know how they have the Slenderman games? Well, they had this, like, Tiki Toby game that was basically a Slenderman game, but it was just Tiki doing it instead. And I was like, this is really bad quality, but I can't find, like, literally any other creepypasta apps or games or anything, so this is what I have. I don't know. I still think Jeff's cool. I'm not obviously, like, going crazy about it as much as I was when I was younger, but I think it's more of he holds, like, a near and dear place to my heart, that little serial killer. Really wheels his way in. I'm surprised he didn't say anything about Smile Dog. I know Smile Dog's his own little thing, but a lot of the times they depicted Smile as being, like, or at least in the stuff I saw, they depicted Smile as being Jeff's dog. I think simply because they both had, like, really big smiles and they were murderous. Which, I mean, understandable, but I don't know. Anyways, I think that's probably all I gotta say about this. It's a whole lot shorter than what there was about Slenderman, but I think that's because there was just more shit about Slenderman out there. Like, this stuff is just, mostly, this is just saying almost everything ever said about about Jeff is not real. And I was like, oh, well, all of my childhood was a lie. That's nice. Anyway, that's all I gotta say. Don't murder anybody. Don't try to be a proxy. Don't try to be a killer. Don't be killed. Be safe. Have fun. Go read some creepy shit. Have a good night or day or whatever you're doing. Have a good life.